I never thought betrayal would taste like burnt coffee. It was morning, the kind of quiet morning I used to treasure. My daughter sat across the table, smiling too sweetly, her husband beside her, his eyes sharper than his grin. Then she slid an envelope toward me like it was a gift. "Surprise," she said. Inside, debt papers. $400,000. Her husband leaned forward, voice dripping venom. It must be paid by Monday. When I refused, my daughter's hand trembled. Then she threw hot coffee across my face. The burn was nothing compared to the words that followed. "Get out," her husband snapped. I left in silence. But an hour later, the police arrived at my door with false accusations that I had assaulted her. That's when the sting of betrayal turned into something colder, a plan. I raised her alone. Her mother left when she was a child, and I became both father and mother. Every birthday cake, every scraped knee, every graduation picture, my hands were there. I thought I had given her strength. I thought I had given her loyalty. But then he came, her husband, a man who dressed too well for his paycheck, who smiled too wide, who measured every room as if calculating what he could take. The first time he shook my hand, his grip was too tight, too rehearsed. I ignored the warning. I wanted to believe she had found someone to protect her. Instead, she had found someone to use her. The signs were small at first. Calls she wouldn't answer in front of me. His sudden business trips. Jewelry on her wrist that I knew he couldn't afford. And then, the slip. A collector's letter misdelivered to my mailbox. His name. Debt. Numbers that climbed like a mountain, too steep to ever descend. I kept quiet, waiting for her to come to me, to confess, to ask for help. She never did. Instead, she sharpened her loyalty to him and dulled it against me. That morning with the envelope wasn't the beginning of betrayal. It was the climax. I did not shout. I did not beg. I did not cry. I let them believe they had thrown me out broken. I let them believe the police had frightened me. That was my advantage. They underestimated the man who raised her, who built everything they lived in, who knew how to dismantle it piece by piece. I started with silence. I moved through the city like a shadow, pulling strings. His debtors were not strangers to me. I knew some by name, men who owed me favors, men who respected the old debts of honor. I showed them the papers. I reminded them who held the true leverage. And like dominoes, they turned their fury not toward me, but toward him. By Wednesday, his credit was frozen. His accounts were under investigation. I made sure the tax office received an anonymous tip about unreported income. By Friday, his employers knew. The quiet rumor of theft became loud enough to reach the boardroom. And my daughter? She began to call me, at first with anger, then desperation. I didn't answer. She chose her side that morning when she poured coffee instead of love. Sunday night I arrived at their house. I didn't knock. I walked in. The same table, the same chairs, but the air was different, thick with fear. He sat hunched, sweat painting his forehead, while she stared at me with wide, pleading eyes. "You did this," he hissed. "No," I said calmly. "You did this the moment you thought you could use my daughter as a shield." He slammed his fist on the table. "You'll pay for this." I leaned closer, my voice steady. "I already have. 27 years raising her. That was my payment. You gambled it away." He looked at her, hoping for support, but she wouldn't meet his eyes. That's when I saw it, the crack in her loyalty. She finally understood what kind of man she had married. I slid another envelope across the table. Not debt this time. Divorce papers. Sign them, tonight. She hesitated, trembling. Then she picked up the pen. The sound of her signature was louder than any scream. The police came again, but this time for him. Fraud, embezzlement, outstanding warrants. Everything I had uncovered wrapped neatly into a file I handed them myself. He shouted as they dragged him away, curses spilling into the night. My daughter wept, not for him, for herself, for the choices that had brought her here. I didn't hold her. I didn't console her. I simply said, "This is the last debt I'll ever pay for you." Then I walked out. Now I sit alone, the taste of that burnt coffee still on my lips. The scars on my skin remind me of the moment my own blood turned against me. But revenge is not fire. It is ice. It does not burn. It freezes, calculating, patient. And when it arrives, it leaves nothing standing. She thought she could betray me and walk away clean. He thought he could use my daughter as a pawn. They were wrong. Because I am not just a father. I am the man who taught her everything, except how to betray me and survive. And in the silence that follows, I finally feel it.